What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to your home for all things combat sports. So, Nick, we got a new fight to talk about coming up in 2024. The second pay-per-view card of the year is going to be headlined by Ilia Topuria and Alexander Volkanovski. Now, there's a lot to unpack with this fight. Topuria, I think, is the most clear-cut. If you ask me who's a future champion in the UFC that has never been a champion and is on their way up, Ilia Topuria is the guy, in my opinion. The only problem he's got is that potentially one of the best 145ers of all time, if not the best 145er of all time, is sitting there with the belt in Alexander Volkanovski. Now, Ilia Topuria does a lot of things right, and I don't want to take away any of his success, but a lot of people are thinking after that Alexander Volkanovski knockout that he suffered against Islam Makhachev just a couple months ago, that he's going to be diminished, that Volk's going to get back in there and he's not going to be able to win a fight, and we're starting to see the decline of Alexander Volkanovski. I don't necessarily see it that way because he lost to Islam the first time, and then he got back in there with Yair Rodriguez and showed everybody just how much better he was than everybody at 145. I feel like this one could kind of go the same way. What are your initial thoughts on the fight?
I love the fight, and I love that they're giving Volk what he wanted. You know, everybody was like, man, he should take some time off. But all Volkanovski asked for after doing the UFC the biggest favor by stepping in for Charles Oliveira on 9 or 10 days' notice and fighting the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world, Islam, a guy who he went, neck and neck with and basically had a controversial loss to. And I'm so bummed that fight happened on such short notice because Volkanovski should have got a full camp for Islam, and I believe things might have gone a little bit differently had he gotten that full camp. But he went in there to save the day, and he didn't get his hand raised. He didn't even land a significant strike on Islam. But everybody seems to forget just how good Volkanovski is. And while Ilia Topuria, like you said, is for sure the #1 contender at 45 and seems to be one of the hottest prospects in all of MMA right now, I could definitely see him being one of those guys that is Volkanovski comes back and is like, oh, I've got a vengeance right now. Y'all must have forgot. I might have gone up there and lost to the pound-for-pound #1 guy in one round, and it wasn't that competitive. That was on 10 days' notice. Like, don't forget that just before Islam was the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world, that belonged to me. That title was mine. And if I were Ilia Topuria, I would be very, very concerned with the Volkanovski that you're going to get in February, because I think Volkanovski's going to come out there looking to just take his head off. And look, Volkanovski is such a man of honor. He lives and dies by the warrior code, and he realized that, you know what, I didn't get the full camp to go back up to 55 for champ status. That's not in the cards for me right now. I'm going to go back and rule my division, which is 145. And I believe now that he's not having his sights set on being a champ or the 155 division, he can look squarely at all the guys at 145, the ones that were just hoping and praying at night that he would move up to 155 and get out of their way so they could finally get a chance at that belt. He's like, nah, you guys, I went and took the fight on 10 days notice. I didn't get my hand raised, and now I don't belong at 55, but I'm coming back to 45 where I belong and where I've been owning the division for years. And I love that Volkanovski. I hope he's able to go in there and give the people the type of performance that he's wanting to go out there and give. Volkanovski's still the GOAT to me. Featherweight GOAT for sure, not even close at this point. And if he beats the next generation of fighters, which is Ilia Topuria, in my opinion, that just solidifies him even more at 45.
Yeah, I get a lot of pushback when I say that Volk is my 145 GOAT as well, but I feel like he is. You got Jose Aldo, Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski. I mean,
Conor McGregor.
Yeah. Anyway, you slice one of those three, no matter how you have it, those are the three best. So at worst, you could have him as the #3 of all time.
Right.
And Ilia Topuria is very skilled and he's very young. He's dangerous because to be that good and only be 27 years old is extraordinarily impressive, and he's just now scratching the surface of his prime.
Right.
That said, his best win is a decision victory against a 38-year-old Josh Emmett.
Right.
So I'm not really ready to say, I am 100% ready to say that Ilia Topuria is a future UFC champion. I'm not ready to say that a 27-year-old Ilia Topuria is good enough to beat full camp Alexander Volkanovski, especially in his weight class, coming back down with a chip on his shoulder. I think it's going to be everything he can handle and then some. There are ways for Ilia Topuria to win the fight. He needs to be ultra aggressive right out of the gate. Alexander Volkanovski, I think when he gets back into that cage, will be looking to get a little bit of reassurance and self-confidence back, and he's going to be looking to have a really good first round because, a lot of times when you get knocked out like that and you get back in the cage, it's like, okay, I got to get out there and really do something to show myself and show everybody else that was, I got caught. Anybody can get caught, and it happens sometimes, and that this is not the beginning of the decline, so to speak. So I think Volk's going to be looking for a very strong, emphatic first round, and Ilia needs to disrupt that. He needs to come in there and say, you know what, old man, your time has passed, and really put the pressure on Volkanovski, try to land some big shots, try to bully him a little bit, try to use that almost 10-year age advantage and really do some things early in order to get Volkanovski a little bit out of sorts and kind of starting to hunt and chase in the later rounds. And that's where Topuria, I think, will have his best shot. Obviously, we're not making predictions yet. This fight is two months away, and there's still a lot of great fights in the interim. But I do think it's a very close fight. I think it's winnable for Topuria, but I think Volkanovski should be the clear favorite here.
Yeah, I like what you're saying there, and I agree with you. Age is definitely one of those things that you have to start to take into consideration. But we're not talking about Volkanovski on 10 days' notice. We're talking about a full camp Volkanovski, and all the credit that you can give to, in my opinion, the featherweight GOAT Volkanovski, you also have to give to his coaches and his teammates. When you saw him go in there for the first time against Islam Makhachev, that was on a full camp, and they got to game plan for the entire time, and they had a strategy, and they were like, yeah, you know what? We're probably not going to move up 10 pounds and go knock Islam Makhachev out in the first round. We're going to have to fight him for 25 minutes, and then we're going to go out there and try to steal as many minutes out of that 25 as we possibly can, and that's how you get a controversial loss, and basically what a lot of people thought was a robbery against the best fighter in the world, who's Islam Makhachev. The second go-around is not the Volkanovski that you can expect to show up in the cage against you when you're fighting if you're Ilia Topuria. Volkanovski is not going to be the guy that we just saw recently. He's the same guy of old, and everybody says, once you taste defeat or you get rocked or anything happens negatively in your fight, you revert back to your old ways. I think for Ilia Topuria, unfortunately, Volkanovski's going to revert back to his old ways, and he's going to be way too much for the young man to handle.
Yeah, it's going to be a great fight. I can't wait.
Me either.